What up, everyone? This is Brenton.
And Jenna.
This podcast is all about connecting with our Autumn family in a fun and different kind of way.
So turn down that CB, buckle up, and enjoy the show. It's going to be truckin' awesome.
Chris Thomas, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. The unplanned breakdown. So, hoteling it up here in Salt Lake City, Utah.
What happened?
Air conditioning issues. So basically, it's coming across the Hoover Dam out there in Nevada, and they had some record heat. I don't know if you've seen that in the news. There, Vegas was 119. So when I come across, I lost my AC. It felt like, according to the Weather Channel, it felt like 129 degrees outside. So I drank a lot of water and got hotels at night, and got through the weekend, got my load off, and made it this far and decided, I need to get that thing fixed because it's going to just still be summer for another 2 or 3 months. So,
yeah. What does 119 feel like in the truck?
You know, it's like it's kind of like slow cooking, right? You don't really realize how hot it is until you stop the truck, you get out of the truck,
right?
And it feels cool outside.
Yeah, it feels cool and it's still over 100.
Yeah. So, it can be a dangerous situation. It's something, if you don't have AC and that kind of heat right there, you just want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water, staying hydrated and stuff.
Sitting in the cab, you're like one of those high school wrestlers that are wearing around the full sweatsuits, just sweating off the pounds.
Yeah, pretty much.
When I was young, maybe 5, 6 years old, I remember my whole family, would have been my brother at the time, my mom, I think maybe my other little brother too, but we rode with my dad out west, and we got into a hot situation, and he had time. He like pulled over by a school, if I remember right, and let us get out of the truck and go run around in the sprinklers that they had going on the football field. You should try that.
Yep, that's one way to cool down. That's something about the old days, right? I mean, air conditioning wasn't a thing in the trucks until probably the 70s. So I don't know how those guys done it back in 50s.
No kidding,
right?
Yeah. You're running a little bit of an older truck, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. It's a 2000 Freightliner Classic. So yeah, it's getting up there. 24 be 25 years old this November for the manufacturer.
That's got to be one of the oldest in the Autumn fleet.
I think so. I think it is.
I
think it might be one of the longest running same trucks too. I mean, I think Keith Richardson has a truck. His truck's been running just a little bit longer than that one has, but over 11 years now, or almost 11 years.
Yeah. Does Katrina have a little bit of an older truck?
Yeah, I think hers is I think she has a 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're happy with it. You and I talked off air, and you told me you just want to keep running that thing as long as you can.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the plan. I love the idea of a new truck. I'm not going to say I don't like that idea. What comes with that, the trade-offs you get with the complexity of the technology and the interest rates these days, is it really worth it? And as long as the truck's together in a passing DOT, I mean, why change it in a way?
Yeah. You got something that there, and you've probably replaced most of the parts on there at one time or another, so you know exactly what you're working with.
Yeah, and that's another big thing, is just how much I do know about that right there, and just that knowledge, and the thought of starting all over with another platform sometimes is kind of gives you a little anxiety when you think about the newer trucks and stuff with the DPF and regen cycles and all that. They've definitely made trucks a lot more complex.
And I feel like they break down just as much as an old one would.
Maybe more.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, Chris, if people don't know who you are, talk to me about who you are, how long you've been with Autumn, how you got started, everything like that.
Yeah. So I've been with Autumn since 2010. I came here after teaming with my ex-wife for 5 years. And this was the first job that I had as a solo truck driver. So came here, stayed, left in 2013, went and pulled lowboy for 2 months. It was just something I always wanted to do. I still probably would today like to do lowboy, but came back to Autumn because the numbers didn't work out right when I was doing lowboy. And Autumn just really, it's a great place to be at for an owner operator, for a single truck owner operator. It's a good lifestyle for a person doing this job, I think. A lot of guys, if you want to go that far, they get their own. I had that dream at one time of having, my own name on my truck and kind of being the boss, the big boss. But then, the older you get and you start looking at that and realizing that it's sometimes you don't need to take everything on, right? You don't want to be taking the entire load. So I think at Autumn, you can do that. You can drive your truck, you can take care of your truck, you can take care of the customers, but you have a great support network for, days like when you're broke down. I just make a phone call and say, hey, I'm broke down, can't do anything. And somebody's taking care of that for me. Whereas if you're a full-blown owner operator, guess what? You're making phone calls. You're trying to get another truck to cover that load you were supposed to go get. So to me, it's a good benefit, and it's a good pay, good family oriented environment here. So that's why I'm here, and love to see that everybody's doing pretty well over here right now, I think.
Yeah, you're probably one of the more connected guys at Autumn, and kind of built up a little network there for yourself in the trucking industry. So it's nice to have you on. I appreciate you taking some time from your room here to chat with me. I'm a trucker's kid, but I know less about trucking than I probably should as a trucker's kid. Tell me, what do you mean when you say low boys?
Oh, lowboy trailer. So a drop deck trailer, right? So, or a removable gooseneck is what I pulled. So it's basically a trailer that the neck attaches to the fifth wheel, and you can detach the neck from the bed of the trailer. So you can drive up, bulldozers, drive up tractors, trucks, whatever on it.
Gotcha.
And then you reattach the neck and put some pins back in there, and you can pick up the load and go.
So you're hauling like big units of things on a trailer like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so that's kind of like a first step into, like, if you're going to go into heavy haul, right? If you're going to do like heavy stuff, that's typically a first step is doing that kind of trailer.
Okay.
So that was at the time, that was where I wanted to be at. Sometimes I still want to, like I said, sometimes I still want to do that stuff, but
yeah,
I do love pneumatics. I have, it's been 14 years of doing it now, and I feel like I know what I'm doing out there most days. So, yeah, it's cool though. It's cool getting to learn about all the different kinds of equipment when you're in a truck, and just, you learn so much being out here in a truck. Truckers are often, some parts of society likes to look down on truckers, but the truth is most truckers have just such a vast array of knowledge of different things, but just from their experience of going different customers, seeing how different things are made, seeing the different products that go into things. So, I mean, truckers learn a lot while they're out here, and that knowledge is valuable. That's valuable to customers. It's pretty valuable stuff to get out there and think about, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of guys like to dabble in some of the different divisions, maybe pull pneumatic for a little while. They want to come learn liquid tank and pull liquid tank. I mean, that's really the reason I'm at Autumn after an entire career of truck driving. My dad had never done liquid tanks. And so he was getting towards the end of his time that he wanted to drive, and wanted that experience doing tanks, and ended up doing them for over 5 years here at Autumn. But we took a trip out west together in a pickup, but he just talking about his background, and every type of trailer he'd hauled it. Every type of product. He'd been to every state. Just, you get so experienced the longer you're in trucking and the more opportunities that you go after. But the cool thing about, you said you've been in pneumatics for 14 years. So there's also something to be said about specializing and really getting to learn those products and those customers? Like, do you have a regular route that you run in pneumatics, or do you kind of do different stuff all the time?
I right now I just jump all over. When a regular route presents itself, I enjoy being on them. But it's kind of the nature of our freight. There's a few customers that we have that have good dedicated lanes. I'm just geographically in the wrong part of the country for some of that stuff. So, and that's kind of the Eastern Kentucky thing, right? So, right now, I mean, I'm just doing this west run out there to Nevada, and probably come back to the Midwest, or maybe get lucky and get a load out of Wyoming here. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So we'll see if it's still there Wednesday, if they didn't have to kick it off to somebody else. But no, I just run all over mostly. I mean, most of the time just wherever except California, and I can go to Canada too.
What do you think about, you like going to Canada? Some guys are just deathly afraid of going to Canada.
Oh, I have no problems with going to Canada. I've hauled explosives placarded loads into Canada, so it doesn't bother me to cross the border. I mean, you just you got to be respectful with the border guards. Be polite. Pay attention to your paperwork. Make sure everything's in order. It's not hard. It's just a little bit extra paperwork that you got to jump through.
I saw on Instagram a tip for getting across the border quickly. A guy pulls up in his car and he was asked for his information. And he said, "Yeah, I'll get that for you in just a second." And then he reached over and he grabbed a Bible. And he said, "But before I do that, you got 10 minutes where I can tell you about Jesus as your Lord and Savior?" And they waved him through. Now, obviously it's a joke, right? But a lot of guys are afraid that they'll get stuck there. I have guys even that have passports that don't want to go because they're afraid they're going to be stuck at the border for days.
Not days. I've had several inspections over the years at the border. One time I was put in a room with no windows, just a door, and I was there for maybe 30, 40 minutes. And then, 30, 40 minutes in, I'm just sitting there going, I'm under arrest, But no, it's just an inspection process they go through. They usually search your truck. They're looking, it's like winning the lottery. Oh, congratulations. We get to see what you're smuggling in. There was one that, another border crossing done into Canada, and she kind of left my truck a mess. I'll not lie. She tore everything out of my cabinets and just left it on the bed. And I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah.
And that happens, but what do you do?
But it's too bad that's got to happen sometimes.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You get the X-ray machines. Some borders you have to go put your truck through X-ray. So you'll pull into a bay and you'll stop the truck. You'll get out and go inside a safe room while they blast your truck with X-ray. Then you have radiation detectors coming back into the U.S. So I've tripped those off a few times and had to have a Geiger meter come out there and make sure that my truck wasn't radioactive, looking for radioactive material. Fun fact, everything that comes from the earth is radioactive. So if you're hauling sand, it's lightly radioactive.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's good. We don't really want it too easy for people, especially coming back into the US, to just be hauling truckloads of whatever they want in without anybody paying attention to it.
That's true. But, I feel like if I was a criminal, the last thing I would do is take it through the Border Patrol station. I feel like there's probably some, I don't know, fields or something you could sneak through at night in the dark.
Some kind of a different way across.
Sure technology and stuff out there looking at that stuff too. But I just feel like that if I was going to smuggle something in, that's what I would do. I wouldn't go right through the daggone.
So, Chris, what I'm curious to hear your perspective. You've been a guy that's not only connected with most of the drivers in our fleet, but you're also pretty connected with other drivers on social media, drivers in different parts of the trucking industry. You're connected with brokers and other logistics professionals. I know you've been on multiple podcasts. You've been on the What the Truck podcast, and you've been on Nate Johnson's podcast. What are you seeing across the trucking industry right now? What's the vibe that you're getting and hearing from the people that you talk to and the things that you read, the other stuff like that you come across?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. I think younger people are positive about the industry. I think that it's been a big bad downturn, but they're hoping that it's the end of the downturn and we're going to start seeing some recovery. But the problem is just too many trucks. I mean, right? There's just too many trucks. There's too much competition out there hauling freight for rates that, quite honestly, are probably somewhat unsustainable. I mean, I hear a rate, and when I hear it, and I know if that person's hauling that load, I'm like, well, they're not going to stay in business if that's what their average is, right? Maybe it's a one-off, and it's not sure that sometimes you get that kind of backhaul thing going there. But I think that most people in logistics seem to stay in logistics, no matter, they seem to get in it. And I've met so many people they've had careers at different companies and moved on to different jobs in different fields. And it's kind of fun. It's a fun place to be. It's fun getting to talk to people that, quite honestly, don't talk to truckers that often. Sometimes that's a thing right there. But then there's older truckers who thinks, this is doom and gloom, man. The trucking industry's ruined, right? ELDs, speed limiters, cameras, everything that's out there. So you get a mixture, you get a kind of a mixture of what's going on in the industry and what people's attitudes are about it. But I'm pretty positive about it. I could see myself doing this easily for I'd probably do another 30 years, honestly. I mean,
yeah. You might have to look at getting a new truck.
I will, but yeah, who knows? I'll probably make that truck last another 30 years.
Make that truck, yeah.
Lots of money. It's going to have a paint job one of these days. But no, it's the industry's changing a little bit. I think technology's changed things. I think there's things that are improvement, and I think that there are things that are kind of maybe a detriment. I think some of the technology makes newer drivers too reliant on the technology. So they just trust the truck to do everything for them. And I think you can kind of see it in some of the statistics and stuff and what we're seeing in increased fatalities in trucks and stuff right now, because, people are not driving with safety in mind. They're driving too close, not following distance, not keeping a safe following distance. So there's a lot of things going on there that's hopefully we'll work it through there. But it's always it's a dynamic industry, right? So that's,
yes, sir.
It's always changing. So just keep paying attention to what's coming down the road, I guess.
It really is easy to rely on that technology. And I think you're right on when you talk about the more that gets added to the trucks, the more drivers start to rely on it. And I think an easy example that people can probably relate to is the backup cameras that they have in passenger vehicles nowadays.
Yeah.
And you can tell somebody who's grown up with that camera in the car, because when they go backwards, that's where they look. Yep. They don't look at the side mirrors. They don't look at the rear view mirror. They're just looking down at the dash at that camera. And
I think even in myself, I do that.
I'm guilty of it too, particularly, but it's a good and a bad, because, I was putting a boat in the lake this weekend, and it was pretty handy to use the rear camera to see what the trailer was doing back there. It's a small little fishing boat, and you can't really see it in the side mirrors until it's, all cockeyed and too far out of the way.
Yep.
So that has its positives. But at the same time, I intentionally sometimes will not use that and use my side mirror if I'm just parking my pickup, just because I don't want to lose touch with those skills, small, minor as they are. But yeah, I can see how drivers, especially new drivers, would grow up in a truck that's all bells and whistles, and they'd rely on those things and not know what to do or how to handle the truck if those things fail.
Yeah, it's something I think about. And mostly I think about when I'm coming down big mountain grades out west. My truck doesn't hold back like the newer trucks do. Newer trucks just seem to hold back a lot better on the mountains. So, I'm going old school, kind of slow down it. You only go down a mountain too fast one time. So
you haven't ever had to use one of those runaway ramps, have you?
No.
Have you ever seen it live?
No, I've never seen one. I've never seen one being used live. I've seen videos of it, but I've never seen somebody off on the ramp being towed or anything like that.
I can't
I
can't imagine how terrifying that would be.
I've seen some hot breaks though. I mean, you're feeling for that guy coming down the mountain. He's just buzzing by you, and those brakes are smoking all the way down through there. I mean,
right.
I've seen some brake fires at the bottoms of the mountains when I get down there. Seen little things like that. Yeah, you gotta be safe though. And, I'm not going to say that I absolutely wouldn't use new technology. I actually like technology. I like it when people are trained properly with it. I probably can be a pretty good beneficial thing at some point. I'm actually impressed with there's this camera system called the Mirror Eye that Maverick actually uses quite a bit on their trucks, and apparently you can see better at nighttime in their camera rear view mirrors that's in the A posts of the interior of the cab. At nighttime, it's got night vision basically, so you just see so much better. So anything like that, if it's improving safety in a good way, but then you have like automatic emergency braking, and it's so it doesn't work properly, or it works when it shouldn't. Even on my wife's Honda, it when it should work, it doesn't work, and you'll be just driving them down the road, and it's like, oh, brake, because it thinks somebody will see something coming up in the curve, So it's kind of it's not perfect technology. So stuff like that, I would never go for that.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I think the other thing with I think let me rephrase this. I think a lot of younger drivers get into the truck and they don't know how to fix the truck or diagnose things that are wrong. So you're getting a lot more trucks going into shops with stuff that guys could probably fix on their own or could have seen coming through proper preventative maintenance. But because they don't know the mechanics of the thing, they're stuck with, more downtime, higher shop bills. And from a owner operated perspective, that can be really detrimental to your business. Guys that are maybe used to being company drivers, and anytime they have a light come on the truck or something makes a noise, they're used to just bringing it back to the yard and putting it in the company shop. But when you make that leap to being an owner operator and you start taking on those responsibilities for repairs, if you don't have a little mechanical know-how, I think you can really set yourself up for some trouble.
Yeah, you can. It's kind of, even then when you're on top of it, you're dealing with shops and you're having to try to find good shop relationships. And, that's one thing I find out is you get a shop and then the old staff retires and the new ones come in and they're getting trained by the bean counters at the accounting firm or the accounting department of the shop. And they're like, oh, you got to get the rates up. You got to get the productivity up on this stuff. So I always wonder about that. It's almost like you can feel it or tell it sometimes in a shop. You can start seeing the quality and the pricing of things and fixing things that they shouldn't be. So you got to keep an eye on that. I'm not going to say you have to be a mechanic to own a truck, but you definitely need to be mechanical. You need to get out there, get under the hood. You should know the difference between the air compressor and the starter for sure. You need to know what all that stuff is, and doing basics, take on more as you want to. But as far as going, some guys fix everything themselves. They tear their whole motors down, do everything, and some guys, never touch a grease gun. So
right. Well, and there's a bad side to that too. I know owner operators that try to do everything themselves, and maybe they shouldn't, and then they end up costing themselves even more downtime trying to fix what they should have let somebody else fix.
Yeah, that can happen. That's happened to me. So back in the day a few times. So, but you see something, you see a problem like that, and you're like, it's not that bad, and you get into it. And yeah, it can be that bad sometimes. So, no, but getting a good shop, getting a relationship with them, that's a very good thing to do. And then whatever you're driving, you should just know absolutely as much as possible about the truck that you're driving down the road.
That and the trailer that you're pulling, right? How to run a blower or how to run a pump and diagnose something that's maybe going wrong with the trailer.
Yep.
Can get you out of a problem and down the road a lot quicker onto that next load.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done some funky things to the trailer to get it unloaded on the weekends sometimes. So I had a gasket leaking, or actually it was a T. The T was leaking, and it was too cold to use any kind of epoxy or anything to get the leak stopped. But I had an extra T. So what I done was I used vice grips. I had like 5 pair of vice grips in the truck with me. I don't know why. I just do. And I clamped up the valve so it wouldn't drop when I removed the T, because the valve's up there, the cone of the trailer. You got bolts and holding the T up there. It's just like a nice little package thing. So I got 4 of the bolts come off pretty easily, and the others were just froze up. It was -10 outside. This is wintertime.
Yeah.
So next step, I'm out there with a torch, heating them up.
Yep.
Got them off. I actually snapped 2 of the bolts because it was just so cold, and I just snapped them. But I got the T back on there. I don't recommend anybody having to do that, but on a Saturday night in upstate New York, and it's pretty much what you're doing if you want to get that load off and get to the next one.
Right. Yeah, you got to go MacGyver on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, couple of quick questions for you, just some quick hits here. So you probably seen a few times on our social media, we did a little this or that. Our recruiter Jenna would ask some truckers, so I thought I'd ask you a few this or that's, just top of mind. Are you an energy drink guy or a coffee drinker?
Coffee drinker.
Black, or do you sweeten it up?
I mix it up. Most of the time black, but every now and then you got to put a little sweet in there.
All right. You're taking a vacation. Are you going to the mountains or the ocean?
Just went to the ocean. Just went there. So next one will be the mountains.
And before the ocean, you did a big hiking trip. Was that about a year ago?
We went out to the mountains last year. We went out to the Rockies and stuff. We did a lot of hiking out there out west. That's what we're going to do again next summer. I like water, so rivers, waterfalls, anything like that. I'm good for going for that.
Nice. Country music or rock music?
Both.
Okay. I saw you were just at a pretty sweet music festival.
Yeah. So that's what I waste all my money on. Some people have Harleys. We go to concerts. So
yeah. Saw, who was your favorite act? I saw you went and saw Zach Bryan was there.
Yeah,
right?
we see Zach Bryan there. We're going to see him again this fall at the Bourbon and Beyond Festival in Louisville. We're going that 4 days VIP tickets. So
can you sneak somebody in your tent? How do I get in on that?
I don't know.
Have you listened to the new album?
Yeah. Probably within the first couple of hours of it being out.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is good. It sounds like Zach Bryan. That's what everybody, the critics said. It sounds like the same stuff for 11 or 18 songs, and but that's the thing. It's if you listen to early Bruce Springsteen, they all sound the same. He's a good songwriter. He's a good storyteller, and that's what I have never been to another concert except maybe Garth Brooks, where the entire stadium really just sings. With the musician like Zach Bryan does. It's an amazing sight to behold. It's something that unites everybody. That's why I like going to concerts. It's just everybody's there to have a good time and celebrate the music they love. Yeah,
that is a fun thing. You've ever been to a Taylor Swift concert, Chris?
No.
Not a Swiftie?
Not yet.
Not yet. Would you like to listen to a podcast, or would you rather read books?
I'd rather read books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You got a favorite?
I'm kind of a Civil War kick right now. So just finished The Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson, which was basically the suspense thrilled historical piece. It's not fiction. He goes, I don't know if you're familiar with Eric Larson as an author. He done The Devil in the White City and some other books. But he goes back in history. He gets all these documents. He basically weaves together a story based on history. And so it's just a really good story about the months leading up to the siege of Sumter, at the beginning of the Civil War, about Major Anderson there on the island, and also what Lincoln was going through as a new presidential candidate, trying to not incite the South any more than it had already been incited with the departure of the states from the Union. So it was just a really good historical piece, a lot of stuff in there that you just never really thought about. And that's why I love history. Probably history is my number one thing. I like that stuff. But just finished Grant 2 this summer. So Ron Chernow's Grant, and I don't know what I'm reading next. Actually, I do. Probably going to do some Wendell Berry. He's a poet laureate of Kentucky.
I've heard the name Wendell Berry before.
Yeah, he's a pretty prolific writer. So,
has he written about like Daniel Boone at all? Do you know?
I don't think so. So mostly he writes on farming and economics and stuff like that.
Okay.
He's I guess you could say he's a contrarian to our modern way of life. He's more in touch with the land and wants to. Talks a lot about community, and the book that I'm going to read is The Unsettling of America, which is one I've been trying to get around to for quite some time. And so I'm interested to get into that one and see what he's got to say about that, about the downfall of the family farm and the uprising of the agricultural complex.
That'll be good. That'll be a good read.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I want to ask you if there's an owner operator out here that's listening and watching today, or a driver that's thinking about becoming an owner operator, what's a piece of advice that you would share with somebody who's either looking at getting into their own truck, they could be looking at coming to autumn, just thinking about trucking in general? What's a piece of advice that you would share with somebody like that?
It's a business. At the end of the day, it's not just driving a truck, it's a business. So you are going to inevitably have to learn business principles. You're going to have to learn how record keeping, paying your taxes. So the basic rule in my house, it's a really easy rule on who eats first. And it's the truck eats first, the government eats second, and then we eat third. So you keep those three tenets in it and kind of take care of your money. Everything else kind of takes care of itself. Don't stress out over the little things though, because you'll have bad days. You're just going to have bad days in trucking. That's all there is to it. And just learn how to handle those days as the best you can. Get out of the truck. It's okay to take a day off. It's okay to walk away from it for a while and just let somebody else deal with those problems. If you find yourself in a shop on a Monday morning before Thanksgiving when needing a complete motor.
Sounds like something you're speaking from experience.
Oh yeah. So, but no, I mean, if it can break, it's going to break. That's all there is to it. It's been a good career. I mean, next year will be 20 years for me doing trucking. I've owned trucks in some way or shape for 18 of those years. So.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for jumping on here with me tonight. Indy Trucker, you see on the screen there, that's Chris's social media handle. You can follow him on Instagram and Facebook and where else. You on TikTok, Chris?
Yeah, not much.
Okay. Twitter. Big on Twitter.
FreightX forever.
FreightX forever. All right, man. Well, thank you for your time tonight, Chris. I hope that air conditioner gets put back together and fixed up for you quick so you can get back out on the road.
Yep. Good talking to you, Brenton.
All right, man. Take care.
Yeah.